What's going on, everybody? The Original Mako back with some more Vampire Survivors tier list content. Before we get into it, be sure you check the links down below. As always, I would really appreciate it. That first link, you can become a member on YouTube today and get access to exclusive content. There's a new exclusive video going up today. This video is going up as well. So if you want, you can check that out. And the Twitch link is down below as well. Stream 5 days a week. We have a ton of fun over there. There's a lot of really fun games coming out. Lost Ark has been really fun. The Witch Queen for Destiny 2, Elden Ring. So a ton of stuff, not to mention Vampire Survivor content. So check that out as well. You'd probably enjoy it. With that being said, let's go ahead and hop into the character tier list for today. We've done weapons, we've done passives, and now it is time to talk about the characters. Now for the characters, everybody has a different sort of play style that they enjoy. So everybody's going to have a different opinion, just like with passives, just like with characters, but I'm going to give you my reasons for putting each character into each spot, and we'll go from there. Now with characters, the weapon they start with does matter, because you don't have a choice in the matter. You have to have that weapon, so that is going to be part of the conversation. But anyways, let's go ahead and start with our good friend Antonio over here, who starts with the whip, and he gets 10% more damage every 10 levels, up to 50% extra damage. Antonio, I'm going to put B tier. I think he's average. I think he's okay. I don't think he's bad. I don't think he's great. Starting with the whip pulls him down a little bit, because I still don't think the whip is a great weapon. It's fine early, starts to fall off middle, and then by end game, it's not doing too much for you. If you get it evolved, then it becomes really solid mid game in terms of keeping you alive, but still falls off late game in terms of its damage output and how much you're going to be doing. So I think Antonio's B, average character, one of the first ones you have, and he's okay. He's okay. Next up, we have Imelda. And Imelda starts with the wand and gets 10% more experience every 5 levels, up to 30%. Imelda's A tier. Getting 30% increased experience by level 15 means you are going to be getting your build done faster and faster and faster. The faster you get your build fully upgraded, the easier the run is going to be to win. So Imelda is very solid at that, and the wand is a decent starting weapon. Really good early game. Still does fine late game. It's not going to be one of the heavy hitters, but it still does a decent job. So Imelda is going to be in A tier, and I think just a very solid character to play. And actually, I think the first win I got in the game was Imelda in the library. So that experience makes a huge difference. So Imelda, A tier for sure. Next up, we have Arca. Arca's S tier, and Arca's passive ability is weapon cooldown is reduced by 5% every 10 levels, up to 15%. So by level 30, you have 15% cooldown reduction. Why is Arca A or S tier? Well, once again, everybody plays the game a little bit differently. For those of you that don't know, I have been headhunting the kill record on Mad Forest, and by far and away, the meta to do that right now is Arca. Out of the top 10 times, or top 10 kills in the Mad Forest, Arca has 6, I believe, of the top 10, and the top 4 are Arca. So Arca's definitely the meta for trying to get as many kills as possible. And just having that cooldown reduction, it affects literally almost every single weapon. There's only 2 or 3, I think, weapons that aren't helped by the cooldown reduction. So, and especially starting with Firewand. Firewand's biggest issue is early game, and biggest issue in general is just how little it fires. It doesn't fire often enough. So having an increased cooldown reduction on top of, hopefully getting Tome means you're going to be up around 60% cooldown reduction for everything, which is crazy. Super, super useful, super solid, super good. Arca is going to get S tier for me. Don't think it's a character like when you're starting, it's one of the easiest to play. But once you get the hang of it, I think it definitely deserves to be a top tier character. So next up, we have Clarissy, who has permanent plus 0.5 health per second, so permanent extra health regen, and 30 max health, and you start with a temporary area bonus and Santa Water. So, Clarissy, for me, is going to be in C tier. The health regen is nice, but most of the time, and this is coming from my only experience playing her after I have everything unlocked, like all of the passive upgrades and stuff, the health regen plus 0.5 per second really does not make a huge difference. The increased health is good, but most of the time after I have my max health fully up anyway on all the other characters, most of the time it's not too hard to find some floor chicken if you're getting in trouble. Like a lot of the stuff's not going to hit you too hard as long as you can avoid bosses pretty well. The starting area bonus is really solid. Like it's an insane amount of area. I believe I can actually look. It's 410% area. So your Santa Water at the beginning is going to be nuts. But as soon as you level up, not anymore. It's not. So it's kind of, as soon as that area bonus goes away, and it starts happening at level 2 immediately, then Clarissy just becomes a meat shield that can tank a little bit, but that's about it. Doesn't do anything else super exciting. All the other characters get your build a lot faster, can allow you to break records in the game, gives you an increased damage output, which means you're going to be, killing things much quicker, which in my opinion in this game is more important. Offense is more important than defense. But Clarissy does start with Santa Water, which is a really nice starting weapon, especially now that it has an upgrade. So Clarissy doesn't do much, but at least has a decent starting weapon. Once again, the area bonus means that at level 1, the Santa Water is going to be insane. And then the Santa Water will fall off. Early game is Santa Water's worst time. So hopefully when you level up, you get a decent weapon to help combat the early game Santa Water. But having that as a slot late game, like you can't choose it, but having it late game is insane. One of the best weapons in the game. So C tier, a little below average, not awful, but I don't think it deserves to be on the... I don't think it deserves to be on the same tier as Antonio. So next up we have a Demario. Demario has a permanent plus 40% duration to all of the things, and and projectile speed, and minus 40% move speed. So I'm actually going to retract my earlier statement saying Imelda was my first win in the library, because that is false. I do remember it was actually Demario. I think Demario's S tier. If you're just trying to win, I don't know if there's much better way than with Demario. As soon as you get that Bible upgraded, obviously the cooldown or the duration doesn't matter. But as you're getting the Bible to its legendary version, the duration is amazing, having a longer duration. But it's the plus 40% projectile speed that you get with the Bible. The Bible is spinning around you so fast. Enemies are getting knocked back like crazy. All you have to do is pair it with a couple of other things like Santa Water with, once again, Santa Water has about the same radius as your Bible. So the Bible's going to be pushing enemies into the Santa Water. It's just, the things you can do with this character are insane. Not to mention, most weapons you pick up are going to be affected by the projectile speed at least, and then some for the duration as well, such as Santa Water will also have a much longer duration. But the projectile speed, you get bone, you get the rune tracer, you get knives, you get fire wand, you get axes, pretty much anything. Projectile speed is going to make a big difference. Duration, not as much. The birds, I believe, are affected by duration, but and a couple of other things as well. Obviously, the Santa Water, Rune Tracer, Bone. There's a lot of things that are affected by this, and a 40% buff is a pretty significant buff. Like, there's a very clear visible difference between the fully upgraded Bible on this character versus any other character with how fast it's spinning around you. So I think Demario is an easy way to get a win, and I think deserves to be S tier because of how easy it can be to get a win with this character. All right, so S tier for Demario. Next up, X dash. This one's pretty simple. X dash is just D tier. So passive wise, doesn't have a passive. All he has is an insane amount of luck, increased luck stat, but pretty much every single other stat is lower than normal. So he's very difficult to play. Not to mention he starts with one of the worst starting weapons. Both of the birds early game are awful to try to deal with. Like, just absolutely terrible, especially considering that he has built-in increased cooldown, so it takes longer for the bird to come back up, lower duration compared to other characters. Playing X-Dash is very, very difficult, and he is just an absolute trash character, and the only reason you'd want to play him is if you're trying to beat the game on every character or you're trying to challenge yourself, because other than that, you're not going to get much out of him. So next up, we have Gennaro, and Gennaro has a permanent +1 projectile to all weapons, so everything just gets a +1 increased projectile, and that is why he belongs in B tier. He would be A tier if it wasn't for the fact that he starts with the knives. Now, the knives are good. The knives can be good late game. Tons of people argued with me on the weapon tier list, but I want you to understand something. The current record I am trying to break, the current kill record I am trying to break, in that build, that person had the upgraded knives. The most kills ever in a game on Mad Forest included the upgraded knives. The upgraded knives are not as bad as everybody's saying. Okay. So, I still don't think they're S tier. In my runs, I'm not using the upgraded knives, but it just goes to show you that you can make the upgraded knives work, and they're not F tier, okay? But I don't think the knife is a very good starting weapon. I think the only use you get out of knives is an upgraded version late game. So having it early, I think, is super annoying and super frustrating to deal with, and most of the time you don't want a knife taking up one of your slots. Like, you want to be able to choose knives later, preferably. You don't want it right away with nothing you can do about it. So that's why I'm going to put him into B tier. The increased projectile is fantastic. Like, really, really good. But because of the knife, it keeps him out of A tier. And I believe he's in B tier, but still a very solid choice and a fun character to play. Next up, we have Missing NO. I mean, Missing NO can range anywhere from D tier to S tier. It just depends on how what your stats roll. So for those of you that don't know, this character is a secret character that you can only get by editing the files. And every single time you go to the character select screen, he rolls with random stats. Completely random stats. And it can be a lot of fun. Like in the game, here, I'll actually show you. I'm looking at him right now. Minus 100% cooldown. What does that mean? Nothing will ever be on cooldown. Everything will be constantly firing at all times. Lower projectile speed, though. Pretty good area. Lower might. 33 health, which is rough. Pretty slow move speed. In fact, if it's over 100%, it actually inverts your controls, like negative. So, pretty bad movement speed. Awful growth and greed. Pretty bad luck compared to other characters. So, and then if we leave, come back, Click on him again. Everything's different. Now you have plus 60% cooldown, so nothing will ever be firing. The duration, when it does fire, it's not going to last very long. Lower projectile speed. This would be a really wild challenge version of this character. So as you can see, his stats are a wide variety of everything, but I'm going to put Missing NO into S tier because of how fun he is. Every once in a while, it's nice to take a break from going for the kill record and just do something fun, which is where Missing NO comes in. Also, like I said, could be really good for doing challenge runs as well. So, Missing NO, S tier. Next up, we have Mort. So Mort starts with the bone, and he gets more projectiles every 20 levels, max of plus 3. So at level 60, everything has plus 3 projectiles. It's not even a question. Not to mention, he starts with bone, which does fall off later in the game, but it is the rarest weapon in the game. I'm 99% sure. If you're doing normal runs, like not on Mort, and you're trying to find the bone, you'll see it once every 10 runs, maybe, if you're lucky. By far the rarest weapon to show up. And like I said, it'll fall off late game, damage-wise, but still super fun to use. It has the same physics as the Rune Tracer, so, it bounces around the screen all the time. So with increased projectiles, all the other stuff you want, like increased projectile speed, increased duration, all that stuff is going to make this a super fun character to play. You get the bone and Rune Tracer working together, and you have a solid run going. And like I said, almost every weapon in this game is affected by an increased projectile buff. And it's one of the most powerful buffs in the game. And getting plus 3 of them is ridiculous. So Mort is for sure an S tier character. Next up, we have Karochi. Karochi is a C tier character. So Karochi's passive ability is you start with 1 extra revive, and you get 1 more revive at level 33. So if you have all of your upgrades, this character has built-in 3 revives, pretty much. Here's the thing about revives, in my opinion. I talked about this when I talked about the new character when he came out, after I had a chance to play him. Revives are very, very... I don't know how I want to word this. You have to, in my opinion, for them to be super useful, it's a very specific time range you want to be using them. If you're using a revive after you have your full build, you're screwed. You're just going to die again. If you died once with your full build, you'll die again with your full build. You can revive as many times as you want. You're just going to die. But while you're trying to level up, knowing you have some revives can be useful because you can be a little more aggressive going towards that EXP. Instead of having to spend a minute kiting enemies around and then looping back to get the XP, you can just say, oh, well, I'm really close to leveling up. There's going to be a chest drop soon. I want to get a legendary weapon. I need to get these levels. Just barrel straight through the enemies, grab the XP. If you die, you use your revive. That's the only real good use I see for revives, is trying to get your build as soon as possible, knowing you have those revives. Once again, getting your build as soon as possible is extremely important for winning runs. So that's the only use for it. So other than that, he doesn't have anything exciting, which is why he's not up higher. And like I said, it's not like it's going to help you win runs late game if you're getting to late game, but you just can't get through that last hurdle. This character's not going to do it. He does have one of the better starting weapons. The cross is an extremely good weapon early game, and it doesn't fall off much late game. But because he doesn't do anything exciting like the rest of the characters, well, now I gotta, because I'm comparing him to Antonio right now, and also you wanted me to order my tier list within the tiers, so, yeah, probably there. I think he's better than Antonio, though, if I'm being honest. Like, the increased strength is nice, but the whip... I'm gonna make a replacement. We're gonna flip-flop those two. We're gonna put Antonio C and Karochi B. I think Karochi's a better character. The cross is super, super useful. Way better, way more useful than the whip. And being able to... The passives are comparable. The strength upgrade is nice. It's not crazy good. The revive upgrade is nice, but not crazy good, in my opinion. So, Karochi gets the nod because of the cross. Anyway, that's Karochi. I'm going to put him in B tier. Next up, we have Pasqualina. And for Pasqualina, your projectiles get 10% faster every 5 levels, up to a maximum of 30%. So at level 15, your projectiles have plus 30% movement speed. Pasqualina is an A tier character. Once again, Rune Tracer is an insane weapon, and having more movement speed, like if you have her passive plus Bracer, which gives you more increased movement speed on projectiles, the Rune Tracers are going to be shredding through enemies at an absolute rapid pace. And once again, a lot of weapons benefit from this. The bone, if you happen to find it, the fire wand, the knives benefit from this. The Bible, if you're using it, the cross. So many weapons can benefit from projectile speed increases. And starting with the Rune Tracer, super, super saucy. So definitely A tier. I don't think it's good enough to be on the level of these characters, but I do think it's A tier, and I do think she's better than Imelda. Next up, we got Poe. Old man Poe. So Poe has a permanent plus 25% pickup radius and minus 30 max health, and starts with garlic. Poe, I hate to do it to you, my man, but I'm putting you in D tier. Definitely better than X-Dash, don't get me wrong. Well, I'll put Poe in C. Right there is where he should be. Starting with garlic is fine because early game is a joke. Literally, for the first few minutes of the game, you don't have to do anything. You just run through enemies, and they can't touch you. Late game, garlic's god-awful, so that's kind of frustrating, but it can carry you pretty hard early. The plus 25% pickup radius is I would say it's a double-edged sword, but I'm thinking very specifically for, so it's really good for getting you more XP. So you're going to level up faster with radius increase. That's true. And I guess for most people playing this game, it's not a downside, but once again, this is my tier list, so for me, it's C tier because most of my time playing this game now is going to be spent trying to break records. And with Poe, especially if I'm going for kill records, having an increased pickup range, especially when I'm going to be getting the Attract Orb passive, because all kill records, almost all of them involve the upgraded Santa Water. I don't want to be picking up things that I don't want to pick up. The little cross necklace that drops, that wipes the screen, that's an awful pickup if you're going for a record for kills, because it wipes the screen, doesn't give you any kills. Not good. Flamethrowers. There's a strategic way, in my opinion, to use flamethrowers, especially on the Mad Forest. So I don't want to be picking up those flamethrowers until I am ready to pick them up. So it can cause you to actually pick up a lot of things that you don't want to. Once again, that's very specific to me, but this tier list is also my tier list, very specific to me. So for me, Poe is C tier and not worth playing. I don't play him much anyway, but I don't think he would be very useful for me in any scenarios. I mean, pickup radius is nice, pretty convenient, but I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's as cool as some of the other passives. So, and Garlic late game is an awful. You don't want Garlic late game, and that's in a weapon slot usually. So anyway, Poe C tier, and that brings us to our last character, which is Porta. You have a permanent plus 30% area of effect, and you start with a temporary cooldown bonus, as well as starting with the Lightning Ring. Porta is A tier. Porta's A tier. Don't think Porta is good enough to be at S, but I do think Porta is good enough to be A tier. The area of effect, once again, almost every single weapon is affected by this. Actually, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think almost every single thing is affected by area of effect, right? The AoE, just the projectiles just get bigger. For Bible, Santa Water, the areas just get bigger. For Bible, the area of effect could be bad once it gets too high, because then the Bibles are like off the screen spinning, which isn't very useful. But I do think it affects almost every weapon. I could be wrong there, but almost every weapon. The temporary cooldown bonus that you start with means that until you level up, your Lightning Ring is going to be shredding through things, because there's almost no cooldown for it, which is crazy. Lightning Ring starting weapon is really, really nice in general. That weapon will be one of your hardest hitters by the end of the run. It does a ton of damage, and it's really, really good. So, once again, overall, just a really solid character. If I'm ranking where Porta would be out of these A tiers, it's very close between first and second. I think personally I'd prefer Pasqualina, but Porta is very close to that spot. Lightning Ring's insane. Area of effect affects almost everything. You're getting a ton of use out of her passive. So Porta gets A tier. And that, my friends, is in my opinion, the character tier list. I'm sure you've got your thoughts, so let me know them down below. But thank you guys for watching. Be sure to check those links in the description. I really appreciate the support. Thank you all. We're getting closer and closer to 3,000 subscribers, which is insane. And I can't wait to bring you guys more content. So thank you guys. Hopefully you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Enjoy your weekends. Love each and every one of your faces, and I will catch you all in the next video.